Welcome to the Women in Project Management. In today's call, I wanted to talk about authority and confidence, why it's important, what issues we face, and how we can actually address the skills. And these are the kind of responses I got. To be an effective leader, to have respect of the team you're working with, the organization you're working in. Personal growth and a sense of self. I mean, as human beings, I think we want to have a sense of authority in some respect, and that can be different for everyone. And then the next question I asked to the women I was talking to offline, and also I asked on our LinkedIn group, was what issues do people face? I would love to understand what part of fear of speaking up is a challenge for us. Do we think we're diminishing our own authority by speaking up in some way? A lot of times women had more facts, more information, and better ideas than the men who were speaking up. I agree with you. Women don't always help women. Sometimes we're the bane of our own existence, and that's not good. So thank you for calling that out. Lack of confidence, we can all have that at different times. Unsure of our value, that's an important one. I think that's one that I want to talk about a bit more. So today I wanted to take us through 5 or 6 things that I've identified based on talking to women and also some self-reflection on my own career so far about what gives us authority, especially authentic authority, not, fake it till you make it, but real, legitimate authority. So first of all, the issue of knowing yourself, having self-knowledge, a feeling of knowing who you are and feeling good in your own skin, I think is really important. And I put that down to these 2 points: self-knowledge and self-respect. And I know we need to respect others. That's critical. But if you don't respect yourself, I find it's harder to gain that authority because you're always on your back foot. You always are essentially undermining yourself. So on self-knowledge, it's really knowing where your strengths and weaknesses are, because if you're acting as though your weaknesses don't exist and others see those weaknesses in you, it can be a reason that they don't feel that you're authentically authoritative, because in some cases you can't be. I know that I don't know everything about technology. So if I try to act as though I do, I will lose some authority in the room. Build your competencies where they need to be there, because you do have a technical project management job. Get a mentor to work through your gaps and invest in yourself to fill those gaps by other means like reading books or taking classes, strengthening the skills that you need to have authority. If I don't have self-respect, is that related to my choices and actions about those choices, or self-talk? How about the kind of people I'm surrounding myself with? What is making me lack self-respect? Is that coming from internally or externally? It's about also finding the ability to manage your own emotions, your self-control. So no matter what's happening outside of me, it's my internal control systems that allow me to manage that, to not get angry, but also not allow people to diminish my self-worth. You don't always have to react. When someone's bullying you, reaction is maybe what they're looking for. So not reacting is sometimes a great thing. The next point I wanted to talk about is presence. And here, this comment, which talks about being present in the moment, is, I think, one of the components. If you talk about a person who walks into a room and commands the room, or, seeing someone on stage like the Facebook founder, if you've ever been in the presence of a person with real charisma and presence, it's because they are present. They are fully present. So let's talk about that. And here I focused on a couple of things a lot of people talked about when I was asking women questions, and that was body language and voice. But also, we can't forget the power of charisma, which is the feeling comfortable in your own skin and also commanding the room. And I've given a couple of things related to that here. Your sense of ownership. If someone's trying to rush you to start a talk or something like that, don't be rushed. And also, that person will often acknowledge people as they enter. If you think about maybe a politician entering their arena, they will shake hands and acknowledge people. That's them actually taking ownership of the space. And the fact is that oftentimes when we're in a group of people who are acting as alpha, whether they're men or women, some people will take up a lot of space and others will take up very little space. And this sense of space can give you more presence and a feeling of authority by just the visual cue without saying anything. Another point is eye contact, making eye contact with the people you're talking to. It's really important. And also making yourself comfortable. If you're, for instance, in the middle of a room and giving a talk or presenting to your team, not pacing, noticing for tics, maybe even have yourself videotape so you can see what kind of visual signs and tics. Women can, I often am brushing my hair away from my face and things like that. Those things can diminish your authority depending on the situation. Voice. This is something I struggle with. When I'm nervous, my voice register can go really up and be squeaky and scratchy. I can start talking too fast. Sometimes I even can end in a question mark, even though that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not asking a question, I'm making a statement. And of course, there are cultures where that's more likely to be the case, where people do end with a higher register at the end of a sentence. Tone, moderating your voice, pitch, trying to find a low register that's natural for you. Pace, again, feeling like you have to get all your words squeezed in actually reduces your authority. And I also find use of non-words. I had a friend who joined Toastmasters, and it was really good to help her get rid of the ums and, and like, and all of those terms, which are just throwaway terms, because they also diminish your message. The next point is about credibility, and not just credibility, that together with confidence. I have a video on overcoming self-doubt and the imposter syndrome, because I get that a lot from people I coach, to talk about the fact that they have a lot of internal self-doubt. And that kind of relates to the thing we talked about already, self-respect and confidence about that. But it can be more, which is knowing your value, which is one of the points somebody talked about. When you think about your confidence, you might want to ask yourself some questions related to, what's driving your confidence? What is challenging you in terms of the ability to be assertive at the right time, or perhaps confident in one situation, but not in another? Finding the place where you can take a minute to get your confidence built up just before you walk into a difficult situation can help, but also working on it over time. Especially around things about knowing your value. This is where I think a mentor can help, because you can talk those things through and actually role play out some of those specific moments in time that are challenging. The next point is about showing your credibility, being clear about what you know and what you don't know, using your subject matter experts and team around you to make sure that if they know, that they have the floor. And I think, again, this is something we see with alpha females and others sometimes, is that the person who knows the least talks the most. That's something you want to avoid. You want to, as a leader with authority, make sure you know who knows the thing you're talking about and let them do the talking. Quiet the people who are just blabbing away. And something I've experienced is never let someone bully you into a bad decision, because you want to own your decisions. You never want to play the blame game later. That's part of credibility. People need to know that if you say it and you work on it, you believe in that decision and you're going to back that decision with all of your efforts. And that can really be undermined by someone bullying you into a decision that isn't good. And I've definitely done that in the past and come to regret it. So that is, for me, my own self-talk of don't do that, because it never goes well. Leadership is about making your impact with others. I see that as, and here I've listed it as influence and kindness. There's of course a lot more to leadership than that. Influence is that ability to either share an idea into actionables and also being able to share facts with others in a compelling way so that they can follow along. And I find the power of storytelling to be a very important one. If you're looking at a person online who's doing a TED Talk, one of the things you'll see is their ability to influence others with their ideas through storytelling, through facts, data, but also the power of the story. And kindness, this is one where I think, I have a quote on my blog about this, which is a lot of times when people get a little bit of authority and power, they feel like they don't need kindness. Or the opposite side, I sometimes feel like, well, people see kindness as weakness. But I've come to believe that kindness is empowering, because if you're letting your team shine instead of letting you shine, or you're showing empathy to someone who's having a bad day, or the project failed or something didn't go well, not destroying that person in public is something that they'll never forget. Being kind to someone, trying to really connect with your team on a human level is something I think people value.
Now that we've gone through these aspects of authentic authority, I hope I can challenge you to figure out how to bridge the gaps you've got today. Doing so will help you become the leader you want to be. Thank you for joining us and hope to see you next time at the Project Management Institute's Women in Project Management group.